Have you ever wondered what the top open bodybuilders would look like if they dropped down to the classic category? Me neither, but I'm bringing it to you in today's video. And yes, I know this would be impossible. Samson Dauda would have to cut off a leg, Andrew would have to go vegan, Hadi and Derek would have to go on a hunger strike. But that's what Photoshop is for, and I've dedicated myself to modifying their bodies to put them in the classic category. In my opinion, this is the best and fastest growing category in bodybuilding. Let's see what they'd look like with 10, 20 or 30 kilos less muscle, and in some cases I'll compare them with other classic bodybuilders. Additionally, we'll see Kion when he competed in classic and Ryan as he is now if he switched to classic. Let's start with Samson Dauda, the 2024 Mr. Olympia and the biggest of these men. Allegedly up to 138 kilograms on stage. With that definition, I'm not surprised. And the thing is, when Samson Dauda was just starting out, he could have looked like a lightweight classic physique competitor. Even back in 2018 or 2019, he could have been competitive in classic. And I've made these modifications to him, especially reducing the size of his legs and his massive arms, and deflating that giant chest he has a bit. Honestly, I was surprised how good it looked. With his body and structure, if he trimmed his waist more, he could be competitive in classic. And yes, I also deflated his head and face a bit. I think the classic Arnold style pose looks great on Samson. By the way, I'm choosing the 2024 version with which he won the Olympia, his best version to date. Simply by reducing his size, he would fit quite well into the classic category and I think he could do well, but his conditioning would still be a problem. However, I want to believe that if he came in weighing much less, he could tighten up more and come in more defined. Let's go with Derek Lunsford, Olympia 212 champion, and he's competed in Open twice. This will be interesting since the work is halfway done. We just have to go back to 2019 when he was a 212 bodybuilder and take his physique and remove a bit of muscle volume, but not too much. And that's how Derek's croissant would look in classic. Not bad, the front double biceps is pretty good. In fact, he actually looked more defined and more aesthetic when he was in 212. I've decided not to shrink his back too much because I think it's his dominant muscle group and his biceps were more defined back then. As for favorite classic pose, I think the front lat spread might be the best. The side chest doesn't convince me as much, but it would also be pretty good. He looks somewhat like Mike Sommerfeld since he's not that tall either and they have some structural similarities. From the back, I think he would be super dominant and few could beat him. With that dense and thick back and those well-defined glutes. Also, the shape is pretty good. Even the abs and thighs pose, I think, could be good. Here you have him next to Sean Clarida and Kamal El Garni. They're unedited, but Derek loses a few kilos. I think that Derek, in most poses, could be a good classic and would fit in quite well in this category. He would be one of those short classic guys, the ones who are just at the height limit and look really full. Next, let's discuss Hadi Choopan, who I didn't think looked as good in classic. Honestly, because he has flatter quadriceps and his arms and forearms are a bit worse. And his shape and structure aren't the ones I like the most for this category. My favorite classic pose for him is the triceps pose, which I think suits him quite well. In the double biceps pose, if he lost size, inevitably his arms would also deflate and might even look too small in my opinion. Honestly, I think he'd do well in the side chest pose. And in the abs and thighs pose, I think he would definitely be one of the best in classic, with that perfect midsection he has, so detailed, even as an open competitor. What would Hadi be like with 10 or 20 kilos less, maybe even tightening up that already extreme definition he has? I've edited this photo of 3 bodybuilders posing from the back. I reduced Samson's back slightly since it's not his strength and took away more from the other 2 for their backs. I took quite a bit more off the other 2. Also in this pose, for me the most dominant would be Derek. Last open competitor, let's take a look at Andrew Jacket. This one's been harder for me since he started out as a monster, so I haven't had a clear reference for how he'd look in classic. I remember the day Andrew Jacket competed as an amateur a few years ago and well, he could already be pretty shredded. Let's start with the back pose. We know his legs aren't noticeable from behind, and losing muscle mass could make it worse, though I hope, as I said, he might gain more definition. Let's imagine. What I do think is that his back, shoulders and arms from behind would be very strong. If we look at the side chest, I had to take away a lot of shoulder. I drained a bit of the oil, and also from the chest. I tried changing his pose, but it still seems a bit out of place in classic, right? I think he's just too big. In the front biceps pose, I took away a lot of arm, but even so, it's still a huge arm like those of Wesley biceps. I took away some lat, I made his waist slimmer. I also took away some leg, which I do think would look a bit unbalanced in classic and a bit smaller than those of the other competitors. For a classic pose, it would definitely have to be this one, the front lat spread. I think he's very strong in this pose. And no matter how much I've used the kebab machine and started taking pieces of meat off, he's still huge. He's Photoshop proof, Andrew Jacket. But you can definitely tell that I've taken away his jaw gains. To put it in perspective, this is how they would look next to Dino, Mike Terrence, and the top bodybuilders, even Neil Darwin and Josema. It's fiction, so they probably wouldn't look like this, but it gives us an idea. Pure entertainment. My opinion about what we've seen is that the ones who would fit best into that classic category for me would be Samson and Derek. For me, Had and Andrew seem out of place, they just don't fit there. Now let's take a look at Kion. And no, these photos are not edited, these photos are from when he competed in Classic Physique. Few people know this, but Kion has been a top Olympia competitor. Kion has been up there with Chris Bumstead, with Brian, and with all of them at the top of Classic. And look how crazy that is. Looking at these photos, it makes us wonder if he should have stayed in Classic because he had an amazing physique, aesthetics, proportions, structure, and a midsection that wasn't as destroyed as it is today. And the thing is, all the poses except for abs and thighs were incredible when he competed in Classic Physique. What if I make a video about Kion's physique, a bit more detailed, like what if he hadn't switched to 212? It could be interesting. Lastly, I want to show you Ryan, the men's physique Mr. Olympia, with a bit more muscle that I wanted to add, since the weight limits for Classic are higher than those for men's. Honestly, it would look pretty aesthetic. I think he has a really good physique. I think his back is pretty good. And with a little more muscle, he could look like this. This video is a continuation of the previous one I uploaded, where I turned classic bodybuilders into open bodybuilders, something much more possible in the future. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing, go watch it. What topic should the next image editing video cover? Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. That's it. Ares YT Culturismo signing off, see you next time.